Survived another day of the Microsoft Ignite conference, which was interesting. So I, spent some more time back talking to the vendors. Couldn't really take the camera and interview them, like it's just noisy, crazy. But what was fun was talking to the server people. As you know, it's all the cloud that runs everything, and that's cool, but the cloud is physical hardware, it's computers. So I visited the Lenovo booth and the Dell booth, and they have the hardware running there. And specifically, they're running something referred to as Azure Stack. And it's a on-premise hybrid cloud system. Yeah, buzzwords right away. But we actually interviewed the guy who it came up with and is the lead architect in all this, Jeffrey Snover. Look him up. The guy is amazing. He's done some really cool stuff. He's SMLR.us and look for our build podcasts, and you can look for our interview with Jeff Snover. And he's one of our people we're interviewing again today. So I wanted to explore the hardware to talk about it because it was released as a part of the keynote address at the Build conference, and now it's a production thing going out now, and it's really cool. And what the concept is this: so if you are using the Azure portal system, it allows you to have both on-premise and the cloud, so to speak, the Azure hosted services at the same time and move things between them. So you have this local stack, and the way they spec this is different. So in order for you to run the same platform as they're running in the data center in your office, there's a very specific spec. And that's what makes this kind of interesting. So they're not saying just pick some hardware and we'll give you some software on it. It's not like it just runs Windows Server. When you're running the Azure Stack, it actually has to build a copy of it running locally with the same portal, same dashboard, and everything else. Then you can develop your virtual machines and all of the services that you're going to use, and you can move them between running locally or running in the cloud, or duplicate them, and you can do live movements between them. And this is this is very important for places, for example, that have trouble with internet connectivity. And they were talking about one of their larger clients that has stores across the world, but at any given time, 8% of their stores don't have connectivity due to the areas. Just, internet goes down, things like that. Especially when you start thinking globally in the manufacturing space, and they just lose connectivity. But losing connectivity, they don't want that to disrupt business, of course. So the solution is this. They put in these Azure Stacks. So you deploy the common thing, the common application across your entire network, across your entire global network, with it hosted there, with it syncing there. But if it goes down, the high availability side of it is, the internet connection. That doesn't cover high availability. So the high availability is it duplicates one copy internally. So they can keep working, gathering data, running their applications on the Azure Stack locally, and as soon as it comes back online, everything syncs back up. And that's a lot of what this hardware was designed for, was that. Now, besides that, it's just really cool server hardware. The way these Lenovo designed their servers, the way the fans drop in and serviceability, they designed a server that doesn't require any the lids to be opened up, the best way to describe it. So it can be serviced from the front and the back when slide out. You don't have to actually take it out of the rack and lift the lid up. And if you've seen server stacks that are in racks, the lifting the lid up usually means you got rails, you slide it out on the rails so you can have access to things. And so there's a lot of engineering that went into the hardware design. And it also gets really cool because these all have 23 NVMe drives, solid state arrays of data. It's just a really cool stuff. This is the thing the cloud's running on. This is the other computer that it actually is. So it was really cool seeing that. And, they put the engineers out there to talk about their equipment. So when you get to talk to these people, they give you a lot of information about it because they're the engineers that designed it. They're not just somebody hired to stand around in a booth and hand you a flyer on it. They're the people who understand the engineering behind it, so they're able to speak to it, and it's just really cool. It's neat seeing all of it physically, because even they kind of, I was joking with them about the buzzwords and things like that. They're like, yeah, the cloud, and they're like, this is what it is, and they're showing us the servers directly. So that was a really cool thing. Sunrise is not quite happening because it's really cloudy here in Florida this morning, so I don't have that cool sunlight coming in like I did yesterday, but I'll keep posting some of these videos and some of that. But today is exciting for us because today's we actually record the podcast. And I probably will bring my camera down for some of that, or at least post some photos and tweet them out. The podcast booth is pretty cool. They have set up. It's a whole studio. It's very professional. It's really cool. And so we're going to be there doing the podcast today and getting our guests lined up and producing some content, which we'll be scattering around on the smlr.us site. So look for that if you're interested in listening to the podcast where we, take our deep dive into Linux and everything else. And I will see you guys later. I'm keep producing videos. I know these are a little short, but it's hard to produce really long content here. But if I can line up some interviews and find a good spot to interview someone, we're talking to Red Hat, SolarWinds, and a few others, and seeing who we can get interviews for. The Microsoft people, I talked to a couple of them, and they just we have to get it approved from PR. So if they're not someone who's already on our guest list, they have to, I guess. I'm not the clearest, but I get the idea. It's corporate policy, and they really want to talk. They really like their job. So there's we've got rules, and we got to have some things that that makes sense for corporate companies. I understand that. The great stories are the off-camera ones. Just the hanging out with all these people has been a lot of fun, and you learn a lot, and you just neat people. So once again, thanks for watching. If you like the content here, like and subscribe.